Part 2, continuation of my video giving testimony to these court cases that I've been through and how the Most High delivered me from these court cases. So basically where I left off was the motions. When I got the court case dismissed for the aggravated assault charge from back in 2015, after fighting it for 3 years, when Montgomery County dismissed the case, I filed my own motion to retrieve my firearm back, because they had taken my firearm, they had taken some other items out of my vehicle as well. So I filed my own motion, and the motion that it's called is Motion for Return of Seized Property. I printed up the documents myself, and I just basically presented that to the courts. I had to go back up to the courts. So basically this part says, my name, defendant, moves this court to return the following property to him. And then it states the property that was taken from me. I have that blacked out as well. And it then says seized from defendant, person and vehicle. Then it has the address that it occurred at and stuff like that. And then here I think it says, my name was arrested on November 25th, 2015 for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, at which time Harris County deputies confiscated both of my firearms. On October 29, 2018, Judge Denise Collins signed a motion to dismiss. After the seizure of this property, the property has been kept in custody of the state subject to the disposition of this cause. In light of the court's disposition of the defendant's case, there is no reason in law for the Harris County Sheriff's Department to retain custody of the property seized from the defendant, and the defendant is entitled to the property's return. Okay, so they basically just granted my request to receive my property back in that instance, you know, because the case had been dismissed. So all praises and glory be unto the Most High for that deliverance, and for me being able to receive my property back. And let me talk about this other case, the second assault case. There's also a third. The third one was the one where, you know, the shooting occurred, but I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. The second case, this was after I fled to Galveston. So I ended up, when I went to jail, when they took me to jail, when Montgomery County decided they wanted to pick up the charge and they took me to jail, what happened was I ended up losing my job at the warehouse, okay? So they totally screwed me over. So I had to start all back over again, square one. And you know how hard it is for a TI to actually get work and keep work. So I had to start all over again, okay? So I ended up getting a job working in Kima, working at an animal, it wasn't an animal shelter, it was like a dog resort, a canine resort where people would bring their pets, like if they didn't want to keep their pets home all day or if they were going out of town, kind of like a doggy hotel or something like that. So I started working there. I ended up getting part-time work working here at this mechanic shop. So that's how I ended up over here. And while I had been working on the island, I started getting a lot of harassment from law enforcement here. And lo and behold, after being here for a few weeks, well, maybe like a month and a half or something like that of working on the island, they set it up to where I got arrested in a donut shop. My boss had sent me to the donut shop one morning to get him breakfast. And there was an individual that came into the shop. Now, mind you, they were gang stalkers all up in that donut shop. It was a setup, basically. They had sleep deprived me previous nights. They kept rolling up on me at night, and I've shown you guys the videos. They kept flashing lights in my eyes. What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here, yada, yada, yada. So they knew exactly what they were doing. They were trying to get me agitated so that when they did their little psychological operations, try to get me locked up, you know, it would work. So what happened was when I went into the donut shop, they had perps standing in the door, just deliberately kind of like blocking my way from getting in. Or it's amazing how they'll use their kids too. Like they had their kids standing in front of the door. And what I did was I stood back and I stood to the side and I just waited for the BS to kind of clear up, because I knew they were going to try to start some confrontation at the door. So it was like I kind of thwarted that by just waiting a little bit longer to get into the place, okay? So a lot of times you have to do that. You got to delay your stride. A lot of times you can see the BS that they have set up from a distance, so sometimes you just have to make necessary adjustments to avoid it. So that's what I did. So that was the number one incident that I avoided. So I finally get into the donut shop. I'm standing in line. I notice this individual comes in, he starts slamming these refrigerator doors that have like these beverages in them and stuff like that. And I'm standing kind of close to it, but I moved up. And once I moved up, the individual then he just totally just gets right behind my back. Like I could literally almost feel like the nose, like the pointed nose, like on the where the sway of my back is. So I told this individual, I said, "You are standing too close to me. You need to move away from me." And he just stands there and looks at me, and he was like, "Well, I'm not doing anything wrong." And I said, "Dude, I told you, you're standing too close to me. There's no reason for you to be standing that close to me. There's enough room for you to stand and have your own space. You don't need to be all in my personal space." So we had words. So what happened was the guy, he screamed out, "Call the police." Okay. And when he did that, it was then alleged that I spit in this individual's face. Now, that never happened. Now, had he not been in my personal space, you know what I'm saying? Even if, how can I put this? For him to say that I spat in his face, the whole problem was that he was standing too close to me. There was no reason for me to spit on this dude's face or anything like that. So that never even happened. As the Father in heaven is my witness, that never happened. So it was alleged that I did that. So based off of that information, the officers, they didn't put me in cuffs. They didn't arrest me. What they did was they gave me a ticket to show up in court. So the ticket was for assault with contact. Okay. So I kept having to go to court for this BS. I think it was like 2 or 3 months I had to deal with this crap. And then finally they dismissed that. And throughout the times that I was having to go to court, of course, they amped up the gang stalking because they knew they didn't have enough to get me locked up or to get me prosecuted or convicted, rather. So they kept amping up the gang stalking while I was working here at the mechanic shop. Every time I would go run errands for my boss, they'd have these people continuously follow me around, continuously getting in my personal space and stuff like that, continuously trying to test me. But ultimately I prevailed, and the Most High continued to make ways for me to get out of those situations. And that case also was dismissed. So I'm going to show you evidence and proof of that. And I wanted to go to trial with that case as well. Let me say this real quick. I wanted to go to trial with that case. And they were also trying to tell me that, well, we're going to give you a trial by judge. And I kept telling them, I was like, look, I don't want a trial by judge. The Constitution says that I have a right to a jury trial of my peers. And if I want to have an attorney present, I can also have an attorney present. And, they kept trying to say to me, well, state law says that we don't have to give you a jury trial, and I kept telling them, I said, look, constitutional law is the supreme law of the land. State law does not trump constitutional law. Okay, so I'm not going to sign this paperwork for no judge trial. You guys either need to give me a jury trial or go ahead and get this thing dismissed. So what the court clerks did was they reset my case for me to talk directly to the judge. I was like, oh, okay, y'all want to play that game, huh? It's like, all right. I left out of that court room or whatever, and I went to City Hall, and I pulled that judge's oath of office, and I'm going to show it to you right here. Now, the judge is a very nice guy. Every time I went into court to go, to be there for my court dates and stuff like that, he seemed like a very fair judge. Very calm until you piss him off. You know what I'm saying? Even my coworkers at work was telling me Judge Schweitzer is a good judge. So that kind of comforted me and, gave me some assurances that, he would be fair. So I went to the county clerk's office and I requested, it cost me like $2 for them to print out Judge Schweitzer's oath of office. So that's what I did, and their oath of office is basically an affirmation document that they sign, swearing that they will uphold the U.S. constitutional law. So this is what I was going to present before Judge Schweitzer if there had been any issues with me wanting to have a jury trial. So on the last day that I had to go to court, I had my documents with me, and I was ready to stand before Judge Schweitzer and speak to him respectfully about me wanting a jury trial and how it says in the Constitution that I am entitled to a jury trial. But before I could even get to that point, Judge Schweitzer he told me that my case was dismissed and that I was free to go. And I thanked the judge, and I walked my butt out that courtroom, and I waited in the county clerk's area to get this documentation right here that actually says my case is dismissed. So it's very important for you people to get your documents whenever they tell you that your case is dismissed. Don't just take word of mouth. Always have them print it out and put it on paper. So it's getting kind of dark here. Hopefully you guys can still see this. But yeah, so that's the date that it was dismissed, where I went to court. I was found not guilty. Okay, and it says on 9/18/2019 came the above numbered and styled cause to be heard for the offense of assault, and the defendant, having waived trial by jury, appeared in court in person or by counsel, or previously pled by cash bond receipt, and entered a plea of not guilty. Okay, and then it shows down here that the cause should be dismissed because complainant was not named. Now this dude, I swear, this dude that I had this encounter with at that donut shop was straight military. Okay, so I already knew it was going to be some BS and I was never going to see that dude again, even in court. I already knew that. Okay, so they said the reason was because the complainant was not named. But then it goes on to say here that the cause is dismissed. There's the check mark there showing it's dismissed. That's the judge's signature, Judge Schweitzer's signature, and that's a done deal. So the Most High delivered me out of each and every one of these situations. And I share so much in common with Cat Williams, because I remember Cat Williams used to always have to go to court. He was always getting arrested for something, being charged with some kind of assault, some type of confrontation. And I remember he did an interview and he always kept saying that, man, I kept going to court and they would never let me go to trial. And he said, you know why? Because they're effing with me. You know, they know that they're full of crap. They know they're just doing this because he was speaking about the Illuminati. He was exposing them. He was exposing all the corruption and wickedness and evils that go on in Hollywood. He did it in his stand-up comedy. You know, a lot of people would laugh and think it was funny, but he was telling people the truth as to what really goes on behind the scenes with these actors and musicians. The sodomy, the pedophilia, the just the perversion, the orgies, and just the filthy things that these people have to do, these rituals, you know, that these reptilians are having them do in order to sustain their wealth, you know, in order for them to be prominent in that field. There are certain rituals that they have to do, and certain sacrifices. They might have to sacrifice their mother, their brother. They even sacrifice their children. So Cat Williams was on the verge of just really just exposing everything, you know. So that's what happens. He said something to the effect of, you know, if you stir up the hornet's nest, you'll get stung 1,000 times. And then he also mentioned that he's still not going to join. Like, he respects I guess the power that they have, but he'll never join them. So that's the same spirit that we should all have. We should always continue to fight this system and continue to rebel against it and stand against it, no matter what the cost, you know. This is what it's costing me, you know, me living out of my vehicle and, you know, not really enjoying the luxuries of life, but just having just enough of what I need to survive and sustain myself. And I'm happy with that, because I know that the Most High favors me. And this is why the Most High delivers me each and every time, because I am humble. I am grateful for the little things that I have, and I strive to do His will. And I rebuke evil. I don't respect evil. I don't bow down to these people. I don't worship these people. I don't let them intimidate me. Okay? I don't know if y'all can see this on my car. I wrote, "The Most High hates workers of iniquity." Obviously, I'm doing something right for me to still be standing here breathing and giving you guys testimony and praising the Father's name in front of you guys and showing y'all how He's delivered me. And don't forget about the third case that was dismissed, the one involving the shooting. I still got to go up there to get paperwork on that too, but you know, that was obviously that was dismissed because they gave me back my firearms. You know, that's confirmation there, and I've already posted that video. So all praises and glory be unto the Father in heaven. You guys have a wonderful evening. I'm going to go ahead and conclude this. Leave your comments or questions that you may have in the comment section, and you guys just have a good night. Keep the Most High first. Always, you know, don't ever give up on Him. I promise you. Please believe what I'm telling you. Never, ever give up on the Most High. no matter how hard it gets, because our reward is not here on this earth. You know, when the wicked prosper, don't be jealous. Don't feel some kind of way about it. Just know that they have received their reward here. And when the time comes for us to make that transition into the spiritual realm, you know, it'll be more apparent, and we'll be able to visualize exactly what we'll be inheriting, which is far more greater than what we have in this materialistic world. So just continue to keep that in mind. I'm not an angel. I'm not a saint. I'm not perfect. I'm just a guy who strives to do the Most High's will, and a man who loves the Most High. And I know he loves me back. So hopefully this helps you guys. Have a good night.